as last week talking about stress management. Next week, we will have Greg back with us, and we'll be talking about teamwork. But this week, we thought we'd take a little break and just get some quick updates from folks on what's happening in your neck of the woods. So with that, why don't I turn it over to Christy as our president to start us off.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's in May. It's May Day. So tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. So I hope you're reaching out to some of your delicious Mexican restaurants to get those, get that wonderful food to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I hope that you're all doing well. One of the things I talked to Cindy Gross about this morning is I was a little sad at the dollar amount of our COVID-19 funds. I thought that that might be a little bit higher. I know they told us it would be close to kind of what we got for our one-time supplement on the cost per child, but that was wishful thinking, I guess. One of the things I was talking to John about the other day is just to give us time to chat to see if anybody else has some great resources or ways that they're looking at opening back up, and if we had any discussion around that. So I guess that was my time and kind of my thoughts is just to see how we can support each other. I really appreciate everybody's time getting on the calls. It's been great to kind of, stay connected, but also as we move forward, I want us to stay together and stay connected in that planning so that we're here to support one another. So I know that there's only, I guess, 19 of us on here right now, but I think it's important to stay connected and support each other through getting all these applications completed in the short time frames. I will share that I'm sure you all have looked at your number in HES, but I think it was exciting to see that basically all we have to do is divide that out into the categories that they've provided. There's not a budget narrative. There's not a budget justification. There's no board and policy council approval. So that should be pretty easy to divide those funds out into the categories that they've allowed. The only other thing I have is I hope that you're taking time for yourself. I appreciate Greg's time that he shared in talking about self-care and the importance of that. I wanted to share a book with you that we're going to be using next year, and I'll email this to John in case anybody is interested in it, but it's called 180 Days of Self-Care for Busy Educators. We're going to use this for all of our staff, but it basically goes from the beginning of the year to the end of the year and it's a really thin book, so there's not a ton of reading, but it's very good in just focusing on self-care. There is daily kind of information on there, but there's also an area of reflection. So when we're looking at professional growth, sharing with our staff it's just going to be really good for self-reflection. But as we come back, I think ensuring that we're looking at that self-care for our staff is going to be really important. So that's a book that I wanted to share out. But 180 Days of Self-Care for Busy Educators. It's by Tina H. Boogren, Boogren. It's a quick and easy read too. So I appreciated it, and I just wanted to make sure and share that out. John, the only other thing is I was thinking about how much I just grew to love Dr. Moore, and I hate that we're going to lose him in the region. I would love to see us team together and write a letter of support or a letter of just our opinions from Kentucky Head Start Association to share that we would really like somebody that has Head Start experience. So I don't know anybody else's opinion if you want to hop on and discuss that, but I would love for us to write a letter to the regional office, to Dr. B, just to let her know that Dr. Moore's been fabulous and we would like to see that continue with somebody with Head Start experience. So does anybody else have any thoughts?
Sounds like a good idea.
All right.
I'll get it. I'll get it cranked out, and I'll shoot you over a draft, and you can take a look at it, make sure we got the right tone. But other than that, we will definitely get that sent out.
Awesome. Shonda said she thinks that's a great idea. So there's one positive thought. Awesome. John, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Sure, you bet. So like I said, this week we've just got a quick call just for folks to check in. Before I've got anything, let me turn it over to Sally for an update from GOEC in our Head Start Collab office.
So we sent out the email with the flyers for the parent kits, and I just got off of another meeting with our staff meeting. We have those every Monday morning. And as of, I don't know, I think it was like 11:35 or something like that, we had already had 400 families apply. So that's going quickly. So thank you guys for everybody that sent that on to all their families for support. We also know that many of the other CECCs are also trying to do something similar, if not the exact same thing. So the parents do have that option on the application. And I was just going to reach out to you guys if there are parents who don't have the opportunity to take part in the kits that are from your area. Would you like that contact information? The only thing is those parents, that's open to everybody. So it may or may not be Head Start eligible students. So just keep that in mind. You may be better off with your TANF list or another type of list. But if they do, there is part of the application where they are specifically asked and told that if they want additional information on early childhood, that they are basically putting their name on a list that won't be sold or anything like that. But it's just for somebody to contact them with additional information on just early childhood in general or other activities. And that information will be sent to CECCs. We are working with the governor's office and education and workforce and just starting talking about some of those issues around opening back up. Of course, that will be at the governor's discretion when that happens. And I don't have a date or a time or anything like that. We're just giving information on what that should look like. And so trying to be proactive of not just saying, yay, we're open, but we're open with these things in place. And then this is what this means. And then maybe there's a plan that something happens later on, those kinds of things, and just helping talk through that. And I'll keep you updated, or may even reach out to ask for feedback or something like that if we're asked, particular questions. We know, of course, it will always follow the CDC, but sometimes, as you know, what that says and then what that actually looks like in practice can be a little bit confusing. So working through some of that and looking at opening up the system as a whole and not just childcare. So right now it seems like the focus is on childcare, and I get that because of the timing. Because schools have already been told we're not opening up, and most of the Head Starts are the same way. But once everything gets going, that's going to affect everyone, not just childcare. So as we move along in August, what's that going to look like if things aren't just completely back to normal? Childcare, Head Start, some of those other type programs, wraparound programs, some of those other type programs are going to need additional supports and technical assistance. I think that's pretty much all that I have. Our website a year later is supposed to go live sometime this week, hopefully. And like I told everyone else on the call this morning, I'm very hopeful, but I'm not holding my breath. Because we started down this process and this road a year ago. And every time that we're told it goes live, something happens, either an election or COVID or something happens. So just as soon as that goes live, I'll let you guys know. Our new website, and this is live. So if you type in KYECAC.gov, it actually goes to the Kids Now website. And so when the new website goes live, that will be reversed. So if you have links or whatever to Kids Now, or you type in Kids Now, it will go to our new website. So there shouldn't be a huge problem with that. If for some reason there is, reach out to us and please let us know, so that we can figure out what we can do on our end. I think that's it, really. And as always, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Oh, thank you to everyone who allowed their early Head Start teachers and staff participate in that 0 to 3 infant toddler competency training. I think that's going to be really good. They should have received an email on how to access that last week. So whenever that happens, they have a year to complete that. Hopefully it won't take them a whole year. But one of the other things that Juanita is planning on doing is not just with the training through 0 to 3, but she is going to try to get some focus groups or just some groups together, so that that staff's not out there alone taking those courses. So she's going to try to supply a little bit more back-end support, not just with 0 to 3, but just with Kentucky, so that they can have some discussions or, help each other, those kinds of things. So I think that is it.
Okay.
John, this is Christy. One thing I forgot to mention that Sally reminded me of is the National Center on Health is doing a Caring for Our Children CDC follow-up Wednesday of this week. So you should have that somewhere in your email to register. Last time it got full pretty quick. So just look for that in your email. And if I can find mine, I will send it to John to send out to everybody, but it's a follow-up from the last meeting. So I'm sure that information's ever changing.
Christy, do you care to send that if you can find it? Because we weren't on the last call, because I never received an email, Kim 50 from OBEC. Thank you.
Yes, no worries. I will try to put it here in the link, and I'll send it to John.
Great, thank you.
Or the chat. I'm sorry, I'll put it in the chat.
And even if you don't, so I couldn't join because I, of course, joined late. And so it was already full. But even if you don't join, but you're registered, you will get fairly quickly a link where that you can view it later. Of course, you can't ask questions or anything like that, but you can sit and listen to it at your leisure. And then you have that. And then, of course, it's posted later on. But if you're registered and don't get to participate, you get the link like the next day or two.
Okay. Let's see. Have folks found, I know I'd sent Kim a link to the previous ones. Has anybody else had any difficulty accessing the recordings from our previous Zoom meetings? I'm trying to make sure that we get that out there, because I know we don't have everybody on here, but I know folks are accessing them sort of offline, if you will. For us,
I'm sorry, this is Kim. I just want to make sure the 2 trainings that Greg has done, it's okay to share those with our staff, our management team, correct?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Absolutely.
I want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Greg is doing those for us, and I think he really just, Greg really looks at it as a calling, so he's just trying to get it out there to as many folks as possible. So please share it far and wide. He has no issue with that. Let's see. We're looking at executive committee meeting dates. I think as of this morning, I think we've heard from almost everybody. So after this call, I should be sending information out about our executive committee meeting that will be happening hopefully this week. That'll just be an opportunity for the executive committee to come together. We've not been able to meet since our last time earlier this year. So this will be a good chance for organizational oversight, for them to take a look at the strategic plan again, for us to look at our finances, and then to assist with some determinations regarding the upcoming conference in September. Regarding the conference, Jessica continues to do a great job. I think we've sort of reached a place where we've got to start reaching out to a few new folks, because some of our sessions that we had scheduled, those folks are not available for us. We do still have plenty of time in order to get that done. So we'll be looking for some direction from the executive committee, but also trying to fill the gaps with similar programming to the ones that we had scheduled. Regarding the conference, I'm beginning to get the pickup list every week for our room block. I would encourage those of you that are planning to attend the conference, if you've already registered, please go ahead and get your room block re-reserved. While your conference registration is automatically moved from March to September, your hotel reservations are not. You will need to make your hotel reservations again. So if you visit the KHSA website at headstartky.org, you will see a link to the conference, and then on the conference page, you'll see a link to the agenda, lodging information, speaker information, registration information, anything and everything is on there. So folks can go and get that done quickly. We're in the process of converting everybody over that registered for March to the September meeting. So there were a few that were registered but had not paid. So you may be receiving an invoice from us to pay those registration fees. Let's see.
When is the cutoff for the hotel registration? Do you know?
Oh, it will not be until, I would say, I think the date is mid-August.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's plenty of time over the summer to get those dates in. Our conference will actually be the middle of the week following Derby. So they're going to have plenty of folks filling out their hotel. So, but between now and then, we've got plenty of time in order to fill up that room block. And in fact, if we look at the room block that we had filled up from March, I think we were actually only about 7 or 8 room nights short of our block. So that's actually really good. Our attrition rate was going to be next to nothing for that conference. So that was good. Hopefully that will be this.
Because my new year starts July 1.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, there will still be plenty of time. If folks have their fiscal year starting, they want to pay out of next year's money, there should be plenty of time for you to do that.
Okay.
Let's see, grant applications. I'd mentioned last week the COVID-19 Rapid Response Grant. I had a chance to connect with both Christy and Sally week before last, and I talked to Rhonda last week. We're going to be getting that app together and sent so that we can get some funds to help with sort of studying recruitment, studying collaboration between Head Start programs and school districts. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming weeks. One thing that I would mention to folks, I know that many of you are out of the office, but many of you may still be in the office periodically. We're still looking for information for that KHSA salary survey. I've only received complete information from 6 programs. So I know that a lot of this sort of hit during when people were getting back in January, and then we got into our conference, and then we had COVID-19. But to the extent you can send in salary information, we're still seeking to conduct that statewide salary and benefits survey. So please let me know. We have our human resource specialists on the side who, we've already got an agreement with them to do the work, but we have to have the data at such a level before they can really do the work. I'd gotten a couple requests from folks to see some of that information. So I was able to sort of cleanse it a little bit. If there was any sort of personal identifiers in there, I think that was only the case with one program. We stripped out those personal identifiers, and we weren't able to share that information because people were looking for some justifications for some of their staff. They were trying to do some comparisons back and forth. I think Lincoln County was the one doing that. So if you can get that put together, working with your, whoever handles your HR and payroll information, that would be very good for us so that we can get that out. I would also encourage folks, if you go to the website, you should see a new link on there dealing with our KHSA member database. I would encourage you to go on there and take a look at it. It's going to have information. I think I got a helicopter coming. Yeah, what happens when you sit outside? So we've got information on there from a lot of programs. I don't think we have it from every program, but I would encourage you to go in and take a look at your program. Some programs, they have just listed everything. Let's use Paducah as an example. Paducah has their site and they've listed all of their staff. There are other programs like Cumberland, for instance, that may have multiple sites, and they've gone through and they have listed their programs by site rather than a comprehensive listing of the program. So go in, take a look at it. If you see some issues, let me know. We can make those adjustments to the database, but our goal is to have every program participating in that way so that your staff know who their colleagues are across the state so they can be in touch with one another. Plus, it helps us understand who the KHSA membership really is. Who are all the folks that we need to be sending information out to? Because eventually we want to be able to create not only committees coming out of our strategic planning process, but also different sections across our association. You may have a health and nutrition section. You may have an education section. You may have a mental health section. You may have folks that are interested in a variety of different things, and we want to be able to try and capture all that information and allow folks to participate. I had mentioned previously the Teachstone class observation training. The new date for that is June 4th. I have received a contract from Teachstone, so we have a certain number of slots there. I know that we have at least 3 people from 3 different programs that have asked to participate in that, and they are getting signed up. If anyone else is interested in having their folks participate in that, please let me know. We can get you signed up in the slots that we have left. Beyond that, the only other thing was the Paycheck Protection Program. We're still working with Fifth Third Bank on that for KHSA. I've gotten them all the information. I've gotten them information from OVEC, who handles our payroll. So they should have everything they need. Hopefully we'll hear back from them. Hopefully it will be good news. Hopefully all that money is not gone yet. Beyond that, that is really what we're looking at right now. I think the conference will continue to loom larger and larger the closer we get. And of course, the fact that we had to put it off means that it's an opportunity for us to go back and re-examine what some of those sessions are and perhaps bolster it and make it even better than it already was going to be. I did start thinking today, this is just to let folks know, and I think our executive committee can address this when they meet, is just to begin thinking about any contingency plans. If for some peculiar reason we are not able, and it may not be a peculiar reason at this point, we just don't know what's going to happen. But if we end up having to go a different route with our conference to do something similar to what NHSA did and what other organizations have tried to do in terms of converting their in-person conference into a virtual conference. So we will do our best to have an in-person conference, but, you know, and that's our plan right now, but I think we just have to make contingency plans just in case. So with that, that's all I've got. Let me ask Jessica if she has anything to share.
Yeah, just like John said, I've just been working on the conference, really looking at, we have some more sessions available, just trying to use all of the space that we can, and just going over all that. So if you all need anything, or if there's anything I can do to help you all, just let me know.
All right, well, Christy, let me kick it back to you, and you can see if anybody else out there wants to have anything else to share about what's happening in their programs.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, John. So you all, I just want to give a shout out real quick. Leah Spencer with Carroll County is on here. She's not been able to get on the other calls. We got her linked back in. So I just want to send a little shout out to Leah. Thank her for getting on. So anybody else that's a new director or new to staying in contact with Kentucky Head Start, thank you. I think it's so important for us to stay connected. So who has a question, struggle? I mean, y'all, this is our time to brainstorm and support everybody. Again, the sky's the limit. We can plan and talk about anything, but if we don't stay connected, and, you know, sharing ideas is only what makes us stronger. Mm-hmm. So I was able to talk and brainstorm a little with Jeff Martin and Audubon the other day. We got together, and that was great, just hearing how they're doing some of their sanitizing things and looking into some of these fogger machines that fog and sanitize buses and, you know, maybe some of our playground equipment. But what else do y'all have questions on, or anything that we can help you do.
Christy, I had followed your lead on putting the link on social media for the new applications. What are you doing about income verification? Are you just going to wait until you can do the in-person and get that?
Yes. So again, y'all, this is just kind of our planning process. I have currently I've got 4 different plans, so I can kind of go in between the 4 however we need to. But in late July or the 1st of August, depending on what all this looks like, our plan is to set a table out front here at Head Start and provide envelopes that they would have to put their income in. They'll ring the bell for us to come out and pick it up. Then we will keep that. We usually make copies of it and just give it right back, but we're going to let it set for 24 hours. Then we'll start looking at that income, and then they would be able to pick it up at a later date. That's kind of our go-to plan right now. I know that, you know, keep in mind, Paducah Head Start is only 237. That's our funded enrollment. So we're not, some of you all that have multiple sites, multiple programs, I'm happy to systems plan with you all and think about how that might work at other places. But yeah, Rhonda, we're going to kind of hold off and just do as much as we can on the application side.
That's kind of what we're doing. We're, like I said, I'm following your lead. We're contacting the parents and getting as much of that as we can. Of course, we're not getting signatures.
Right.
But I've told them just to put it in individual family folders, and then whenever we can, we'll get those signatures, and they're just documenting on there, taken over the phone due to COVID-19.
Rhonda, that's exactly what we're doing. We're just putting, you know, everything is contacted via phone, and when we can get that in signatures, I know that there's a way to do an electronic signature, but I wasn't going to try to teach that to the staff right now.
Right. And I wasn't even sure if that would be allowable.
Right. Yeah. Great question.
Which I think there's supposed to be some guidance coming out soon over enrollments.
Right.
So hopefully we'll have some clarity on that as well.
Yes. And again, I'm sure I'm the only director on this entire call that it took a minute to figure out, but your COVID-19 funds are in your 2019 tab in HSES. So if you go to 2020 and you call them and you're like, my money's not there, that's exactly what I did. I went to 2019 and then I found this small amount of money that we get to spend.
Which I think some is in 20. I guess it depends on your physical year.
Yes. Yeah.
Justin, to answer your question about the deadline for the class training, I would say Wednesday or Thursday of this week. If you can let me know by then, we'll make sure we get the folks in. One additional reminder is it is May. It's the first week of May. So just a preliminary reminder that KHSA will be sending out dues invoices when we get towards the end of June. Those will be dated July 1.
Shonda, thank you, John. Shonda, I see that question over there. So one of the things I'll share real quick, and Cindy, I hope you don't mind me sharing this out, but what Western Kentucky does for our pre-service is myself and Cindy Graves, Murray Head Start and Paducah Head Start partner with our Callaway County Regional Training Center, and we usually do an in-service or pre-service in July. So for maybe 5 minutes today, Cindy and I talked on the phone about that, and we're looking at doing something virtually. And, you know, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know for certain that there's more than 50 people. So even in the governor's, you know, when you look at his phase out plan, even in July, and Sally, please correct me if I'm wrong, even in July, it's just a group of 50 people. So I don't think that we will be able to have all of these adults in a room together, even if we were 6 feet apart. And even at that, our largest ballroom won't allow us to do that. So I have a feeling we'll be looking at a virtual pre-service. And, you know, if that's something that maybe we need to put together, overviews of Head Start or just kind of the inner workings of Head Start might be something we want to contract out to support all Kentucky Head Start programs in just the history of Head Start, going over all of the systems. I know that we do our own things in our programs, but there's some of that if we did together, we would be able to kind of mass produce. So if that's something you're interested in, let John know, let Jessica know, and we can find somebody who can do that overview of Head Start for us. Yeah, Shonda, I think that's fantastic. Shonda put over here, for those of you that are on a phone and it's harder to see chat, that we've been thinking about creating recorded sessions for staff to watch and complete an assignment. That's being innovative. Great thinking. Fantastic job.
Christy, also, I think there's a company, I think it's called Pro Solutions that does trainings. They have partnered with eTrist. So those that are needing those training hours through the state certified, you will get credit hours through eTrist for a lot of those sessions.
Thank you for sharing that, Rhonda. John, can you look into that Pro Solutions and send that link out?
Yeah, Pro Solutions.
Hey, this is Vaughn. This is Vaughn in Louisville. We use Pro Solutions now as part of our process for continuing to work outside of the office. They have two separate type of platforms you can use. You can create a subscription with them, which allows you to create whatever type of programming training regimen you want, as well as being able to pay for individual training sessions. So they have a deal with Region 4 to allow us to have a discount on their subscription as well.
Awesome. Vaughn, thank you so much for sharing that out.
Yeah, we'll get that together and send it out.
And John, that might be something that Kentucky Head Start wants to partner with Pro Solutions to maybe even get a better rate for our staff or for our program.
You got it.
Y'all, I'll share out one more tip that we're going to do this week. This week is Teacher Appreciation. So we're going to be doing little teacher appreciation things, but we're also going to send out a video just as a staff, a parent appreciation, because we know that really right now, we always tell our parents that they're their child's first teacher, but right now they really are their child's first teacher. So we're going to try to put something together just to celebrate our parents and let them know how much we notice and we see the stress that they have extra stress on their plates right now, and just do a little something special for our families as well, besides the staff appreciation. So I thought I'd throw that out there to you all just to take that time maybe to get your executive director or somebody else to do a little shout out to the parents and thank them for going above and beyond during this COVID time. Anybody else have things that they need to share or questions, concerns? This was a little different format. I didn't know who would get on here and share anything, but I wanted us to have that time today. All right, Sally, do you have anything extra or else to share with us?
Yeah, so I know that OHS has lifted the requirement to submit PIR data for grantees this year. But then in looking at that through KY Stats and the early childhood profile and the data subcommittee, I think that's another one of those things that COVID-19 is really messing with, that maybe we didn't plan for or think through or think about. So in contact with a little bit from KY Stats, that's kind of been we've had some really brief preliminary discussions on what data is going to look like or for early childhood. Do we just scrap it for the year? And there's just like a little blurb saying COVID-19 just, disseminated all of our data. Do we try to somehow collect and have limited, so 9 months worth, or big picture? You know, what do we do? And I wanted to make sure that we reached out to Head Start and talked about that, and at least started thinking through some of that. Simply because we don't want to put a burden on data collection on anyone. But then on the other hand, we also know that a lot of entities, agencies, people use those early childhood profiles down the road for lots of different things. So when applying for grants, when explaining, I know the CECCs use it to think through and figure out what their programming is going to be, all of those kinds of things. I also know that if you're not reporting PIR data, then you can't even think about collecting any of it. And how is that going to affect you guys 6-7 months down the road? So that's the other part of it. It's really easy to say, yay, we don't have to report that this year. But what happens if you need that information that you typically turn in? So thinking through that data, and I don't expect a decision to be made right now, but I would like you guys to be thinking about it and just kind of helping us inform a decision on what to do as far as Kentucky specific data. Because again, I don't want to force, you know, you guys to say we have to have these 10 points or whatever it is. But I also know that a lot of people rely on that. And it's really easy to make a decision not to collect it or report it or have it in April. But what happens when you need that in January for some reason, for something? So please be thinking about that. And if you, I mean, we can discuss it. We can take time to discuss it now. That's not a problem. But just think through that and help us think through that reporting. Just simply because I know I don't again want to force people to do just one more thing because, and that's sometimes what happens with data is you collect it because, but I also want to make sure that whatever we collect is useful and it's actually informing some decisions. So be thinking about that and shoot me an email or give me a call, whatever, just to talk through some of those things. Because as we have more conversations on the data subcommittee and with KY Stats, we'll have a better idea of what other kind of data we'll be able to collect from the other programs. So for example, public preschool. I know that at one time, and I haven't followed up on this, but I know at one time KEDS was like, you will send this in. And I'm like, me personally, I wouldn't ask parents. Like, they're working from home if they still have a job, or they're unemployed and they're stressed because they can't get through to unemployment. Their kids, young children, are home 24/7 and they don't have the, you know, the ability to run out to the playground or go to a neighbor's house or drop them off at grandma's or whatever for a few minutes. They don't have that. And now you're asking them to report to you data that you've never trained them on. Like, I think that's a little bit too much of an ask for parents. So what do you do? And I don't know, I haven't followed up on that. I don't know what the expectation is right now for that data. But those are just some things to think through and help us think through. Like, what if we can't collect all the data that we typically do from Head Start? What can we collect? Or what is the best, in the best interest of Head Start for reporting? Because as you guys know, if you don't report it, it may be wrong. So what is in the best interest of Head Start to report so that the real picture can be shown on those early childhood profiles? So just, again, like I said, think about that, think through what you typically report, and then what you just can't report at all, or maybe what you can report for a few months, or with an asterisk that says this is information up till March 1 or whatever. And then shoot me an email so that I can add that information to some of the conversations we're going to start to have. And then I'll probably reach out to you guys again, either individually or as a collective email, just to ask for more clarification or, hey, what do you think about this? Those kinds of things as we move forward. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you, Sally. I do think it's important for us to be able to, show a data picture of all the success of this year. So it's probably going to look a little different, but I want to keep Head Start on the forefront and sharing that data picture because I know that it's going to be needed down the line, and we need to be able to do that the best we can, however that might look. So thank you, Sally. John, that's all I've got. Head Start directors, kudos to you for keeping your ships running afloat. You've done a great job, and I look forward to seeing what we'll hear from next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great week.